Druids. We're here to talk everything about druids in Dragonflight. Looking at the beta and all the information on there right now. So quick and I want to dive right into this. We got 4 specs we got to run through. We got a bunch of information we have to try to get through. So just quickly, we got Orph, we got Dipi, and we got Bigmoran. TonyFeral should be joining us soon, but in the meantime, we got 3 out of 4 talking about specs. Let's just dive right into it. Right, let's get into this. So I guess first and foremost, again, like always, I'm sure, like always, like has already been announced on a whole bunch of other ways and on the official channels from Warcraft. Dragonflight is a complete takeaway or a complete step off from what we've been playing as far as talent trees in the last several expansions. They're going back to these massive talent trees. In this one, you got the general, and then you got the spec specific. So I want to go. I want to go to the bear first because I feel like Guardians are kind of like the black sheep of PvP, if you will. So Orph, quick and dirty. What's something in the general tree and just in general with bear druids themselves? What's something that's really exciting to you? What's something you're really happy to see?
That's a very good question. So in the general tree, I believe it's just not awesome since they haven't changed it. But one thing that I do enjoy seeing, I like that you can take wild charge and renewal at the same time. Like I loved being able to get the big heal from renewal when I had to have it anyway, but I never took it. Like it's just not something that was on my radar to be able to take. So I'm playing RBGs 98% of the time anyway, since that's what a bear does. But that renewal heal is it looks exciting. I like that I can get to it. It's in an okay place to me. But just in general, being able to take combination of a few things that you couldn't take before is exciting.
Nice. I think that's common to a lot of other people. They're quite excited where in the tree there's things there that we weren't able to touch because they're locked to specs, and now it's open up to pretty much any spec. Big, actually, I'm going to run over to you for the resto. What about you? Are you happy that people are able to be able to touch a whole bunch of across all specs, or would you rather it went back to only resto druid stuff and only guardian druid stuff?
Well, you're not really gaining much, to be honest. Like, you're not really gaining anything new as resto in the general tree. And in fact, you kind of lose a bit of functionality that you had with feral affinity. Like a lot of the feral affinity stuff, which is like sort of ubiquitous in 2v2, is now a bunch of talents, which I think from a 2v2 player perspective is kind of annoying because I think you're very like limited on points on the general tree for resto specifically. So I think it'll be harder to have that sort of cat form play style because you'll be missing out on a lot more than you were in the past. The one thing that is kind of nice about the general tree, and it's kind of a boring talent, is the Lycara's teachings, which is just a flat 6% increase in haste whenever you're in human form. So I think that's quite nice for resto druids. I think one of the problems early in the expansion is mastery kind of sucks because you can't really get enough of it without sacrificing haste. Yeah. And so I think just having a little bit of extra baseline haste will allow you to itemize more mastery. And I think like what tends to happen is as the expansion progresses, mastery just becomes insane for resto. And I think you could even have that early on into the expansion. So I think even though it's a very boring talent, the Lycara's teachings is going to be really important for resto druids.
All right. All right, same for you, Dippy. What about you for the balance side?
So the balance side is basically like a complete overhaul compared to now. They're changing our mastery. They're changing like kind of the entire damage profile. So what I'm most excited about in general is just the fact that they're redoing everything because the damage profile was really, really like incompatible with PvP and Shadowlands. Basically, your damage in PvE was designed around the Venthyr Covenant and like the Night Fate Covenant, and having like these ridiculous kind of burst windows with Incarn and with covenants that weren't viable in Arena in PvE. So it's really hard to like. So all the damage was tuned around this kind of playstyle that you couldn't actually use in PvP. So what I'm most excited about is just that the damage profile will make a lot more sense for PvP. So hopefully we'll have a much more kind of interesting rotation in PvP. I always think of like alley shamans and how like everyone loves to play them in PvP. Like they're a really fun caster, like satisfying to just, proc meatballs and stuff like that. And I think this new damage profile for Moonken is actually just going to be a lot more exciting and less clunky in PvP. And then I'm hoping the thing I'm most excited about is just that it will probably draw in more Moonken players, because it's actually fun to press your buttons. And you're going to be more than just like a Cyclone bot that you would kind of be right now. So yeah, what I'm most excited about is definitely just the rework of the damage profile, and that it makes more sense in PvP.
Nice. I have to admit that, I look forward to being able to press Moonfire and actually see something happen rather than a ray of light and just get healed through. I just want to say, so I noticed in the tree though, so right now in Shadowlands I have Incarn and then I have Convoke. So I mean I can pop my Incarn and I can pop Convoke and I can just watch a whole bunch of sparkly stuff happen on my screen. But now you can't. What do you think about that?
I hate Convoke. I'm like hardcore. You have to understand this. And I don't like gimmicks. And to me, Convoke feels like a gimmick. It just feels like something that's very unreliable to kind of pull off and, the competitive environments. So I was really sad to see Convoke returning. That was something I was excited to have, eliminated after Shadowlands. So I'm really thankful. One of the most like kind of incredible talents we're going to have is actually the alternative to Convoke. So you're going to play Incarn instead of Convoke basically 100% of the time if you're me. And then what's right underneath Incarn is actually the most insane talent that I think we have. And it's a Loon's Guidance. And the way that modifies Incarn is that it reduces the resource cost of Star Surge by another 10, which is going to stack with this thing we have called Rattle the Stars, which already reduces the cost of Star Surge by 20%. So when you're in Incarn, you're basically just going to have an extremely reduced cost on Star Surge and be able to really, really spam it. And Star Surge is obviously like our burst damage, and Incarn is our burst damage. And the profile that works for like the most kind of high-end competitive arena is just like having these really high kind of, burst intervals. So for us, we're just going to have, as it stands, very, very insane burst intervals, which is music to my ears because I want to be, tournament viable as a Moonken. So the fact that, Incarn is going to reduce the cost of Star Surge is really insane. And that synergizes extremely well with a lot of other talents we have. Most notably the Primordial Arcanic Pulsar, which is a talent that every 10 Star Surges, you enter Incarn for 12 seconds. So you're going to be spending an incredible amount of time in Incarn compared to what you would be right now. So instead of it just being a 3-minute cooldown where you only get value for the first 4 or 5 seconds while you have enough resources to actually spend Star Surges, you're going to be weaving in and out of Incarn the entire game. And actually this might get changed, but on target dummies right now, you're basically in Incarn close to 100% of the time, even if it's one target. So in PvP, when you're going to be dotting multiple targets and having even more resource generation, I can see you having an absurd amount of uptime on Incarn and just be turreting Star Surges pretty much the entire game. So it's looking ludicrous. Like Moonken there's a lot more things that a lot more talents that are very like synergistic with each other. And namely right now you have like kind of 2, 3, 4 ways to generate resources. But with the new talents, you're going to have 8 or 9 ways to generate resources. And then of course, while having all that extra resource generation, you're also going to have a reduced cost on your kind of spenders. So
Oh
it's
my
just going to be
goodness.
insane. And then, of course, there's the benefit of actually using your spenders with shifting back into Incarn every 10 spenders. So it's just looking insane. And I don't want to go back to retail anymore. I'm sad that I have to even like, push rank 1 and like click my old buttons, because the damage profile just looks that much better for Dragonflight. So yeah.
I will say something. Well, for one, it's kind of nice that Incarn is good again, because it was kind of a crap. It didn't really give you anything of value in Shadowlands, because it was like 10% extra crit or whatever, like no big deal. And the extra duration is kind of wasted because you only do your go like in a very brief period of time.
Exactly.
The one thing I think is kind of janky a little bit with, maybe not janky, but depending on how you view it, is I think what you just described with balance is kind of a similar situation with Resto, where instead of like damage modifiers, there's like time modifiers on a lot of things. So for instance, I mean, we'll talk about this probably with Resto, is like you can extend the duration of your HOTS to like some absurd numbers, like 40-second duration rejuves. And like that just seems to me on paper like nuts. So yeah, I mean, I think, we definitely saw the consequences of damage stacking, right? Like, having X amount of interactions, and I think there's all these weird time interactions now in Shadowlands, or I'm sorry, in Dragonflight. It sounds like, where it's, you're basically a god for like 40 seconds at a time, which is kind of absurd. Everyone can be like a demon hunter, like just in their own little meta form in some ways.
Yeah, there's definitely like, I mean, the amount of uptime you're going to have on Incarn is insane. And then there's some weird things that kind of affect the timing of things. Notably, you're going to play Circle of Life and Death pretty much every game. So you're going to be spending a lot more globals kind of reapplying your dots, because just to explain what Circle of Life and Death does, your damage over time effects deal their damage in 25% less time. So basically you have to put up your dots that much more often. And now our mastery has actually changed so that we do, let's see, what is our mastery now? We do more damage when we have our dots
More
up.
damage with dots, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to be spending more
doesn't like
globals
more
putting your
dots?
dots up as well. So there's definitely some things with time. But there's also, kind of contrary to your point, there's going to be a lot of damage modifiers for Moonkin as well. Because obviously there's Incarn as a damage modifier. And now we have, let's see, we'll get 6% extra damage when we proc our little fairy dragon that just randomly procs from like our dot damage. And then we're also going to do 8% bonus damage when we have 3 dots on one target at one time. And our Star Surge has a 10% chance to basically proc a third dot Stellar Flare. So there's that 8% damage modification from having 3 periodic effects up. And then there's the 6% from having the Fairy Dragon. And then also our new 4-piece is going to be a 50% bonus Star Surge damage kind of modifier when we first enter an Eclipse. So we're going to be entering Eclipses left and right, because entering Incarn, as you proc it from the Arcanic Pulsar, counts as entering actually 2 Eclipses. So there's going to be a lot of modifiers. And then even the 2-piece, which is it's a 50% damage buff to your builders, actually, Wrath or Starfire. That stacks up to 3 times, so it's going to be 150% damage bonus. And then we also have another talent that's also a modifier for Wrath and Starfire, Umbral Embrace, which increases the damage of Wrath or Starfire by 50%. So I'm seeing a lot of modifiers actually for Moonkin. So it's, I don't know, it looks a little bit nutty. And even just compared to other classes I've played on Dragonflight, the numbers that Moonkin is hitting right now are way, way more insane. Like my Star Surge is just, I feel like Moonkin is going to continue to get nerfed. So the numbers are just kind of nuts. And I think it's going to scale insanely well. So it'll probably who knows? Maybe it gets nerfed every frickin' patch of Dragonflight. So, but plenty of
Is
modifiers.
that standard for druids? You know, you guys start off super strong and they just keep nerfing you down and down and down.
Sort of. They didn't. I mean,
I'm just. But...
they did in PFA. Actually,
Yeah.
we were really insane the first season, and then CG won BlizzCon with the Moonkin, and we got nerfed to total garbage, and we weren't viable again until Corruptions.
Yeah.
But in Dragonflight, we haven't really been a tournament viable spec since BFA Season 1, actually, which has been really disappointing. Just with the way the meta has kind of functioned with, you know, who has the most powerful defensives that are close to complete immunities and who has the most powerful burst that they can kill you at any point, and pretty frequently. So Moonkin hasn't had that for a while, but I think this profile for the damage at least is going to be a lot better. We'll have to see with the scaling on the defensive side in terms of like tournament play. Again, I'm pretty hardcore. I'm just obsessed with like, you know, being viable in tournaments as a Moonkin and hopefully being successful in tournaments as a Moonkin. So the Druid tree is a whole nother topic, and I won't go on a tangent into that just yet, but that's going to determine, you know, a lot of our utility and specifically like our defensives compared to the Boomy tree, which is just our damage profile. So everything on the side of our damage profile is insane, and I love it, and it's 100 times better and going to get a lot of new Moonkins into the PvP world, I think. But
Nice.
the Druid tree is a little bit more. It could be very promising, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. And I can explain my predictions and stuff later, but I'll stop rambling at this point. So, yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. That sounded like a nervous laugh. I'm not sure.
No.
All right. Just 1 second. I'm just trying to figure some. Aereo. I just pulled Tony in. Hey, Tony.
Yo, what's up?
Tony.
What's up? Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the party. Happy
Thank
you're
you.
able to join us. We had to start a little without you, but that's fine. Here you are.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask, we've already been talking about all the other specs, mostly in the general tree, and touched a whole bunch on the balanced druids. But for you as a feral, what parts of the general tree are you most excited about?
I think like mine right now, what I'm thinking about is bite damage, and a bit upset about the Moonfire things. We cannot play Moonfire because they like completely delete this way. Primal Wolf. We have to play PvE talent. What needed? I mean, not needed completely. We're gonna waste it two talents for pick the Moonfire, so we cannot. And we have to choose to play some like breed talents and talents for so much damage. And someone maybe can play with Canwalk 1, but I'm not sure if someone gonna pick this in PvP. Maybe some tricky, sneaky picks, you know, into some like comps when no one gonna kick you in the Canwalk.
I think with Convoke, though, right, you lose the conduit modifiers and whatnot, and the legendary. So
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, maybe Adaptive's farm not gonna be as big. I mean, he gonna be completely like main what you're gonna play. But if you wanna play to one shot, maybe you have to pick the kind of, I don't know. It depends what comps we're gonna face, and depends if we can play this shit when you fake target, and after you fake, he cannot like CC you for 3 seconds and do anything with you. You know, you're completely immune with this talent. So if you have to play this talent, Convoke gonna be insane. It's gonna be I don't know, some new meta or something. It's so OP. I don't know what Blizzard gonna do with this. One thing they fixed it already. If you share my window right now, I was like link this in Twitter, and I think they fixed it. Because before, after you reshift, you no lose mana, and you didn't lose energy, and you don't need it rage for in the beer for like 3 seconds or something.
We were talking about that before we started, how they changed Fear, and it's now
Yeah.
completely different. And
Yeah,
it was
that's nice.
a PvE thing, and it was making Moonkins broken in PvE, I guess.
Yeah. So and other thing, it's why we needed to play, why we needed to choose something, Bash or Roar. I don't really like it. choice between these two things, because if I'm playing my play style, I love to play full haste and cyclone everyone, fake everyone, and this thing was kind of stopped us. But I don't know what they're gonna do with this. If we can on Feral at least fake target, if it's gonna work. Yeah, I didn't even know. If you're gonna fake the target, and after we fake, we immunity for everything. So it means if I fake someone.
I don't think you have that PvP talent as Feral. I think it's only for casters.
I think it's casters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Casters
and other thing. Let's think about Restor Druids. Restor Druids gonna be so OP with this for make a CC. One time fake on the Cyclone, then he immunity for everything. It's kind of troll this thing, you know. For priest, maybe my control is a bit different. He just casting.
Yeah.
For like 2 seconds.
Yeah, Gerissar, I don't know if you have the PvP talents up right now, but if you have the...
Sorry, I was messing around something else in the background.
but by the way, you was on Boomy, right? So this talent about you talking, it's so OP for Boomies also. You gonna cast clones, PvP talent, no one delete, yeah? From you. You gonna, like, after fake target, you're gonna be free. Man.
Precognition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so OP. It's needed deleted. I don't know. It's full broken for Boomies. Okay, for mages maybe like right now it's disturbed. I mean it's fine for healers probably, but for rest of druids it's completely broken again. Like a lot of things, you know. But Blizzard doesn't think. They always like trying to, oh, I'm so crazy in my mind. Let's do this. It's feel like new players gonna be surprised, and in PvP people like, completely broken the balance because on one class gonna be usable in everything. In every way, when the rest of is gonna pick this.
Feeling that precognition is gonna get nerfed. I don't think there's been like, they don't have a lot of data. There's not a lot of PvP testing going on right now, to be honest. But I think once people have access to that, specifically on the pre-patch, I have the feeling it's gonna get nerfed in some way. Instead of like maybe just giving immunity, I cannot see that staying the way it is. Even if it lasts for half a season, I feel like it's gonna get nerfed the same way. Echoing Resolve gets nerfed because right now there's too many broken interactions that they're kind of not accounting for, like you're mentioning. From my perspective as a Moonkin, what does this mean for root beam? When you beam someone without kicking them, are they just going to be, immune to your root beam if you try and root beam someone? Or I don't know. But maybe they'll exclude beam from that interaction. But I think it's going to be really clunky and actually more frustrating than fun for most people. So I have the feeling that's going to get tuned down. But as it stands, it is kind of ridiculous looking.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, and also right now in Revate, we saw it in Revate. We're gonna have to play on mana with Ferals. Feral can do a lot. You're gonna be so surprised, baby. With the Ferals at least.
I feel like Tony's never going to be in cat form now with because you're going to be playing like Kara's teachings as well, probably in the Druid tree. So you'll have extra haste when you leave cat form to spam your clones, because when you're not in a form, you get 6% haste.
I mean, if I'm gonna play this, wait, I doesn't see this talent, or he already in. Where is he? Well, like before he's here. I didn't check it. They deleted from me this talent or not? Because I didn't see him. They probably deleted them. Because I have some talent. I think he's here by the way. Look, this talent he was like for finishing moves have 3% chance to per combo point spend 10% haste. So it means I'm gonna get 10% haste if I'm gonna play this talent, and I can make him double. I don't know. It's gonna be double one. I'm not really sure.
You got a lot of haste modifiers. The Tony build is gonna be nuts.
I mean, you're gonna lose so much damage if your bite's doing so much damage. You don't even need it to cast clones. It means I'm gonna just play completely delete these talents and play some other ways. I don't gonna play cyclones. Depends for a phase. I'm gonna adapt. It's not means I'm gonna play all with cyclones. It sucks to play cyclone always.
One thing we haven't really discussed yet is the return of Nature's Vigil, which I think is probably the best for Boomkin. I don't know how well it benefits Feral. I agree. But I mean that talent I think makes you pretty bulky during if Incarn lasts as long as you're saying it will last. I mean that plus Nature's Vigil means you're going to be doing a lot of healing for 30 seconds, like every every 90 seconds. Which
I have to say, I've made quite a few builds. None of them it's viable to get Innervate or Nature's Vigil, which is very disappointing to me. You just have to spend so many points on like getting these important things with some of these 3-point fillers and other stuff like that. But also right now, like as a Moonkin, you're more passively tanky than a lot of classes, but you don't typically have these strongest trades. You know, like at best you've got, you know, a Bark Skin or a Frenzied Regen, which you can't use into stun minus your proc, or you know, maybe there's a Mind Games up anyway when you get your proc, so you just have to cancel it. But I don't think Nature's Vigil is actually going to see any play at all as a Moonkin at the highest level, because it doesn't help you with your weaknesses, and your strengths already kind of cover that area of like, if you're not in a stun, like you should be okay. You can cast clones, you can kite most classes in the game. Like your big weakness is kind of getting, specifically it's dying to rogues or to like a warrior in a Kyrian spear,
Talking about
or
bonus.
like, yeah, as a boomy, or like Tony in jungle when he feral frenzies you while you're in a stun. It's so I don't think Nature's Vigil is going to patch that weakness. Instead, it's just going to make you, you know, have extra healing and tankiness when you're not in those kind of vulnerable windows, and then you're going to lose out on some really important stuff that does kind of patch up your bad spots like on other parts of the tree. So it's unfortunate, but because I liked playing Nature's Vigil and WAD the last time it was a thing when I was actually a feral druid, like my feral bro Tony. But yeah, I don't think it's going to get any play as a boomy. The only time I can see it being played is like with Heart of the Wild in like a skirmish, where you get the extra healing from Heart of the Wild and Nature's Vigil, and you know the game's going to end in 1 minute. But I don't know. I think it's just going to be played in like kind of lower casual content, and it doesn't really help you with, like I said, your
By the way,
weaknesses.
for now, with this gear what we have it, I already played some skirmishes. I can say it.
Mhm.
Ferals, I mean, it means any other druid spec, so weakness in the beer. Your healing not do much like before. They doesn't give conduit. This is like some big conduit from Shadowlands, give you some opportunity to alive. They nerfed this a lot of times, and right now it's no this conduit anymore. It means Feral's gonna die so hard, maybe. I don't know. Are you gonna line, of course, on, but I feel like we're gonna be completely weakness class for die, and maybe druids. I don't know. In the beer, if they like just tank some big dam with the cat, maybe it's a way to play behind. But for ferals, I don't know. If you're gonna die hard and maybe people gonna kill you through, it means I mean the cross CC. I don't know. It's gonna be so hard. It depends. We'll see.
I think the biggest limiting factor in the general tree is that nurturing an instinct, 3 points in there. I feel like that is by far the thing that limits a lot of interactions you want to have in the general tree. That thing that you have to pick in order to get access to Cyclone. The fact that it's 3 points and it's like a kind of a boring passive, I think to me that's the part where the general tree kind of fails.
Yeah, you're putting 6 points into Killer Instinct and Nurturing Instinct. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of very insane dumps. Like there's other 3-point dumps too. Yeah, like Killer Instinct. You like as a Moonkin, you have to spec into Thrash, Swipe, Iron Fur, and Killer Instinct to like get to Skull Bash and the damage reduction. So it's one of the most clunky trees. I think it is the most clunky tree that exists, literally for anybody, which makes sense because it was the first tree that they created. Priest and Druid were the 2 first trees they created, and Priest has been reiterated upon like 5 or 6 times now, and Druid hasn't been changed once since its inception, minus like, you know, Furor and like a few tooltips. Like, but for the most part, it stayed 90% the same. So it's an extremely clunky tree. And I was pretty upset about that at first until I started messing with it. But in reality, I still think there's a lot of really OP things you can do with the tree. I think it feels a lot better to play with than to interact with. But in terms of interacting with it, it feels so clunky and unintuitive, and it feels really bad. As a feral, you have to spec into magical damage. As a Moonkin, you have to spec into physical damage. It's ridiculous.
I agree, by the way.
It is like, it's gross. Yeah.
But you don't need it use the left towns at least. I don't have to play also with booming towns but like some magic will like lose the free talents for take a clone. It's kind of troll, you know.
Yeah.
One thing
Uh,
I want to point out. I'm looking at everybody's trees, and aside from Big, your resto ones, and Tony, your feral ones, on the Guardian and on the Boomkin ones, neither have gone all the way to the bottom of the general tree.
No, I don't get a cap point at all. I don't honestly see a reason for getting a capstone point in the general tree for Guardian Druids, and they're not super awesome in general anyway. Like the class tree capstones are cool, like some of them are great, but the general Druid tree capstone points aren't nothing to write home about.
All right.
Yeah, I think Heart of the Wild isn't as exciting as it used to be. I mean, from a resto point of view,
It was
like
about
I
to
don't.
use this as always. 5-minute cooldown is not ability. 3-minute cooldown is not ability. Like 2-minute right now, or like one insert. It's a way to play. If you're making cooldown with 3-minute or anything, your class and your ability
Yeah,
completely uses.
it's the damage is way too underwhelming too for resto. Like, I mean, you get a little boost of cat form damage, but it's not that big a deal. I think like Heart of the Wild is insane in mop for Feral and Boomkin, like absolutely busted because like your heal, like I mean the way it interacted in the past was it just gave you like basically double the healing or like triple the healing as Feral and Boomkin, which felt amazing. Like it was an actual button. It was like a big thing, and like I mean, I played triple DPS, and like in triple DPS, like the Boomkin could keep you alive for a really long time. It was really exciting then, but I feel like Heart of the Wild is in recent expansions. I don't even think about it because, like as Tony said, 5-minute cooldown, and you use it once a game.
I mean, when you have the Mortal Strike right now, I mean, after 1-minute timer or 3-minute timer, like in the solo shuffle things, every single ability what you have, more than 2-minute cooldown, let's say, completely uses. And if you cannot back him faster, because like when game faster, abilities on Feral 3-minute, it's completely uses. It means on shuffle, Feral's gonna sucks. I think maybe it depends. It's gonna be hard to play, more hard to play than any other class who have less abilities with cooldown. Because after 1 minute, it's already dumping, and if like at least you face the Asarok or you face the Fury Warrior with Moto Strike, your class completely have a weakness and you're gonna lose. It's the same way, by the way. Let's say in the freeze thing, they're gonna create the damping not after 5 minutes, after 2 minutes. Your class gonna like looks more weakness. Since I mean, it's gonna be much more fun to play, to be honest. Swear to God. But they needed completely rework the cooldowns abilities. Because on the Vrav, when I'm playing Feral, I see 3-minute cooldown. It's just not cooldown, because you can play like 10 billion minutes, because no damping anyway. And it's playstyle, I don't know, so long. This means game's gonna be so long every time.
How do you guys feel about the return of well-owned instincts? Like I mean, I think that was
sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it covers like if you're talking about the weakness of Druid, just generally speaking, is like rogue, right? Getting stunned by a rogue, and it is like the worst thing, no matter what Druid spec you play. I think I don't think I don't think anyone would disagree that that's like the biggest pain point for Druid just in general. And I think that provided a unique kind of coverage to that, but it felt kind of cheap. It didn't feel, especially with mind games, it kind of felt annoying in some cases.
I mean, in my games, yes, but just go beer, bro. If we're talking about the stance.
Well, that's what I mean. It prevent it was a nice little lifeline. Like think of it similar to Nature's Guardian for shamans. Like it's kind of same basic thing, but yeah, I don't know. It just it being so deep on the tree too. Like I have it on. Did you guys pick it in your builds? Because I picked it. I put 1 point into it.
I'm only
mine.
going to be playing it in RMP pretty much, actually. So
really,
there's too many juicy things, honestly. And yeah, it being 2 points and kind of far down there. I mean, I think at best I just put 1 point into it instead of a few other things.
Not taking it's not going to
just
get
going to
me.
be 1 out of 2 points, and then you just like lose 1 point in like Hara's teachings potentially. But Yeah, I never liked Well-Honed Instincts.
Wait, we're looking at Guardian Towns, guys.
Oh, well, the Druid Tree is going to stay the same no matter what, I believe.
Yeah.
It's just going to be
Yeah,
the
it's the
stuff on
same.
the right. But actually, something I wanted to address in terms of in dealing with our biggest weak point, which is typically rogues. A big problem for druids has been that we're always forced to play like Night Elf or Tauren competitively, which have no benefits if you're in a stun, unlike Orc or Human. So now the new Trinket 2-piece is a very, very good thing for druids. So I think kidney shot's going to be capped at 6 points no matter what in Dragonflight. So no more 7-second kidneys. And then we also have the 15% CC reduction from the 2-piece. So kidney's only going to be 5 seconds on us, which is a huge deal. Because right now, every time I fight an outlaw rogue, I'm getting 7-second kidneyed every 20 seconds. So that's going to help a lot for like druids viability into rogues. And something, two other things I wanted to mention here. But something, I'm not sure if you've thought about this yet, Tony, but something that looks really OP to me is actually Verdant Heart. So that's in the Druid tree. It's right under the improved Barkskin talent. It says Frenzied Regen and Barkskin increase all healing received by 20%. I think
that's
that could
nice.
have really
But it's
insane
not a peak.
synergy with Resto Druids, actually. So Druid
Yeah.
DPS and Resto Druids, like,
By the way,
get your
it's
full
true.
flooded up. Like,
It's true. On Restored Druids, it's gonna be so fucking OP. It's so OP on Restored Druids. Yeah. But
yeah.
for Boomy and for Feral, it's might be fine. Because if you're talking about the Barskin, rocks have faint every millisecond. If you're talking about the old love as well. If I have choice to play no wall and have faint, bro, I will play faint. Swear to God.
Tony, Faint got nerfed, by the way. I don't know if you've seen that. It's
What nerfed? Old love
it's a
rocks.
smaller percentage now. Faint is it's only
That's
20%
nice.
now.
I didn't look. It's too much to look.
Yeah. I've
There's
narrowed
a
it
lot to
out
look
on
at
like
here.
most trees actually. But yes, I think Resto Druids could be really OP with Druid DPS. Because if you pop Barkskin, like say you're fighting RMP, everyone CC'd, but you have full hots, there's no Klepto anymore. So Mage can't take off your hots very well. And then you just have the Verdant Heart. Like, I don't know. Like it might be extremely hard to kill Druid DPS with a Resto Druid. Or even an Arsham with just Earth Shield and Riptide up. But specifically Resto Druid, I think
If
there's
it's gonna
going to be a
scale,
lot of synergy. Yeah, so could be really OP actually.
yeah, the Barskin thing on Restored Druids is so OP.
So it looks like again on the Guardian side, Verdant Heart is a guarantee. You kind of need to have that. And I also noticed for Big, you've like split between the two. So Orph, what's your feeling about this? About Verdant Heart?
I will always take more healing. I mean, there's nothing much else to say for me about that. You're constantly frenzied. I guess I'm constantly frenzied. I'm constantly barkskin. Like I have to live. That's my job in an RPG environment. Like that's all I'm there to do. So if I can increase my healing that I get by anybody, that's why I'm taking like nurturing instinct a few points into that for increased healing. I have to take well-honed instincts just to stay alive. But most of my stuff is just for me to live.
I understand. I did notice also, just looking at everybody, most of you took Ursul's Vortex. Actually, sorry, I guess exception for you there, Dipi. You went with the Mass Entanglement in yours. How do you guys feel about that choice of being Ursul's or Mass Entanglement, no longer having that that duality in your spell book?
I hate it.
It's the same like choice to bash and roar.
Agreed. I hate that as well.
I think I don't know. Vortex is not as game breaking as it used to be. I think Mass Entanglement is insane versus like Demon Hunters, for instance, or BM Hunter. There's very few use cases for Mass Entanglement outside of like Root Beam. Like to me, it's always kind of seemed like quite a dull talent. It's again very, very niche use cases. I think as we talked about, the needing to choose between Roar and Bash That kind of sucks. But I don't know. Both Mass Entanglement and Orsol's Vortex never felt like too high impact for Resto Druid. Just again, some very unique use cases like rooting a demon hunter or something. Like it's insane for like one. It's a good counter for like 3 specs, and outside of that, it's whatever.
Okay.
And I think Dipi probably just root beams. It's you don't really. It's not ability you really think about too much. You just kind of as a boomkin, I guess.
There's some OP uses for it. It's definitely niche, but like rooting a Windwalker's images, I don't know. A lot of the time you can, root someone's charge or something, but you already have a few things you can do in a charge. You can knock charge, you can roar charge halfway through. So I mean, root definitely has some value. Like if you're kiting a melee cleave or something, you can root the whole team. You don't want to do that until you're kind of out of options because you want it to be there for root beam, but it's something. It is kind of sad to me that Roar and Bash are competing for sure, and I can imagine for Tony that's a huge bummer as Feral because he gets all the instant
Soul
move procs
play
anyway.
style, by the way.
So you want to be able to Roar clone, you want to be able to Bash clone. So those two things competing is more of the bummer. I think it will be cool. Like as a Boomy, you're going to play Vortex into Resto Druid teams, which I think will be fun because so many of the Resto Druid teams are actually cleaves. So I think Vortex will be really fun to use into those cleave teams. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Because that's obviously the one time you're not really going to play Root Beam is into Resto Druids because they can just shift it. So it's not terrible, but it's a little funky. And I get why they put, Root and Vortex on the same thing because in PvE, they're kind of serving the same purpose a lot of the time. So it makes sense they're choosing for those things to compete. But yeah, it'll be something to adjust to, but I don't think it's going to break anything.
Okay.
I'll get used to it. Just thinking in my mindset of running a flag across a map. I loved having both of them. I still love having both of them. And that's kind of frustrating because I lose like the ability to stop people twice now instead of just the once that I'll have to choose which one that I want to take in a flag carry map. But yeah.
I hate to sound like a downer, but Orph, do you think that Druids are going to be the go-to flag carrier in Dragonflight, or do you think that that's going to shift with the change in Legos and just this change, the changes where you're going to lose so much of your utility?
We still get Rage of the Sleeper. It's not 30 seconds like it was before, and it's on a 1.5 minute cooldown, and I can still take Slumber to get that to go down. So probably, I mean, it won't be mandatory. Like I don't believe that it'll be if you're not a Guardian Druid, if you're not, if you're in an RBG group, they won't specifically request a Guardian Druid because I think Vengeance Demon Hunters they'll be good still. But I think the Sleeper coming back it's still going to help. Like we'll still be able to get across. I mean, it's 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a long time. Like if you think about it, 30 seconds was a really long time. But I'm thinking RBGs specifically, like I have to go down that part of the tree to be able to get that talent. Like that's a forced, like if that's your gameplay, you still have to take that talent to be able to do what you want to do. I mean, you still take what's Malorn's Swiftness is still, that's I think everybody gets Malorn's Swiftness now.
Yeah.
So like I still have that. I still have cat form. I can still wild charge. Like I mean, we're still fast. That's why we're good in the first place. But they added the Sleeper Lego and it just put us over the top. Now I think it'll be more in line with others being able to carry the flag in an RBG environment. But it's still there, and I can still take the cooldown with Emerald Slumber down. So I think we'll still be safe in that aspect.
I actually really like. Sorry,
I was gonna say too. I think Guardian Druids are still holding on to brambles, which I think is a big part of their functionality in RBGs. And there's so many talents that make Barkskin last even longer now too.
Yeah, brambles has always been great too. Yeah.
So yeah, I think Guardian Druids, whether you like them or whether you agree with the Guardian Druid meta, I think that seems like they're
Hated
staying around.
necessity.
Yeah, yeah. Dippy, you were gonna say something though?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I like the change to Rage of the Sleeper because it still exists, and 10 seconds is still a lot of time. But I think it's gonna just make it more of like a skill thing a little bit with like you have to be a little bit more precise with how you use it. Like where you're positioned on the map and like how far you're gonna get with it, etc. It's not just like a free
You're exactly right.
kind of lap around the map. Like you have
Yeah.
to be a little more calculated with it. And so it's going to be more of a meaningful choice. And then it's also a shorter cooldown. So you're going to be making that meaningful choice more often. So I think that is a very, very smart change. So you're still going to have that extremely powerful, cooldown, but it's going to be, a little bit harder of a choice, and it's going to be happening more often. So I think that's really smart by the devs. Actually, I like that a lot.
You can't press it when you pick up a flag and just go for an entire like a half a minute. Like now, it's a meaningful decision. I agree completely.
That sounds
I
awesome.
think because I used to play a lot of Twinks. I think the distance between the tunnels in Warsong Gulch is almost exactly like 30 seconds. So like having that legendary, like it gets you literally across the map, like
Yeah.
which is
think
the
it's
broken part.
45 seconds with no interruptions, you can get across the map like entirely. So it's probably about 30 seconds.
Yeah, so good change probably overall.
Okay.
And yeah, it doesn't seem like Druids are going anywhere out of the RPG meta
Right.
anytime soon.
And Boom can still like, even if I don't have
Yeah.
to play Guardian, like it looks so good.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dippy, are you an RPGer at all, or do you play RPGs?
You know what? I actually always end up RBGing a ton because I have so many alts that I end up tanking RBGs and playing a lot of Boomian RBGs. So, and I've even played a fair amount of tank, just like having to farm solo shuffle for those instant pops. My Guardian Druid
Yep.
has like a 95% chance win rate in solo shuffle. It's disgusting. So I've embarrassingly tinkered with Guardian more than I probably should have, just for my gear farming. But
Wait, by the way, in the rating solo shuffle, Guardian Druid is gonna have, tank aspects gonna have chance to play, or what?
Yeah.
For rating.
You know what, Tony? It's up to you and me because we played in the solo shuffle tournament and they asked for our feedback. I told them to please never let Guardian Druids ever play in the competitive scene. I don't know if you said that, but that's what I said. So hopefully the rest of the competitors said the same thing.
I don't know, if we get the sleeper Vinther combo taken away, I don't think it'll be super terrible.
RBGs, BGs, raids, I don't know, maybe like dungeons, okay, it's fine. Tank specs, but on the like arena, no fucking way.
I think, I mean, getting a solo shuffle with a tank, I do not like those solo shuffles. It always feels like really janky. Like especially if it's like a prot warrior or something weird like that, that I don't think feels good in your solo shuffle. Like it.
But by the way, I really like if Blizzard gonna make arena and rework like cooldowns with abilities. Like I'm saying, if they're gonna make it arena faster and freeze, it's gonna be completely different world. It's gonna be like a CS:GO game in the Cybersport. I don't know. It's gonna be much more fun to watch because everything what we see every tournament, like except with me as well, I just like looking for the full completely Glina. It means like full defense talents, like how to delay game more longer and like win the game because you have like completely broken strategy or like spec. Because no one playing the 4 all-in on tournaments. It means if meta gonna change and damping gonna start after 1 minute, gets open, it's gonna be much more faster games. It's much more fun in the comps what people play.
Solo shuffle was so fun because of that instant dampening.
Yeah.
It was so fun. That's
and
why
if in freeze, you can play in comp what you wanted with into people like who are already playing. Also, it's gonna be so much fun. It's thing what I needed to add it. I think.
Well, here's a question. Outside of solo shuffle, though, do you think Guardian is actually going to have some viability in arena?
I mean, it's just like 0 IQ, I think, to play. I don't know. you just go in, and
he's not wrong.
Just like zack 1 minute game, and it's over. zero things like how to outplay anyone. Just like do them.
I
It's
find
it's
myself dying much quicker in duels that I've been having out in front of Orgrimmar or Stormwind as a Guardian Druid. So I don't know what happened to my tankiness. And I don't feel like I'm doing a lot of damage outside of my Moonfire and what is it, Galactic Guardians, procking for, I wrote it down, like 25k. Let me see.
Stars are just hitting for like 170k right now, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Well, just
comparison.
compared to Mangle hitting for 4k, like a Galactic Guardian Moonfire hits for 30k. That's the only damage I feel like I'm doing. Like, so I will play something else in arenas.
Yeah.
Of course, tuning still to come, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I will say I always hold the stance that if the spec is in the game, you should be able to play it in PvP or PvE. That doesn't mean that you should be able to get like Gladiator in a tank spec, but I still think that you should be able to, if you want to go into RPGs or rated gameplay with a tank, you should be able to do it. I understand that that's frustrating for a lot of people though, just because how disruptive tanks are.
Yeah,
hard to agree.
You know, it's like no one. It's a huge bummer when you fight a Guardian team or any tank team, and they're like obviously lesser skilled players. You can just see it in their like interactions with the game, but then you still can't get out of that game for 15 minutes because they have a healer and a tank. So you're stuck there fighting people who probably don't belong at the same rating as you, and there's nothing you can do, and it just saps your energy for 5 times the normal game length. So I think that's what frustrates people, but there are ways to implement it where, they can still queue up and they're not going to be, the nuisance that they kind of are at the moment. So I think the biggest problem is, of course, prop allies right now because they heal more than actual healers.
Right.
Yeah.
So it depends on your comp. Like, honestly, as Moon, can I farm the prot teams? Because I can just spam CC them and then stuff like that. But certain comps where you can't really control them, it's just like, it's so frustrating. It's not even PvP. You're basically just hitting a target dummy that you have to kill, but you can't kill, and you're like, what are we doing here? What is this?
I feel I'm gonna go just rage to the sleeper just a second. I thought of something like this will separate like the people that made a Guardian Druid to go into RBGs and get rating quickly or gear easily, that they can just press it when they need it and go for an entire 30 seconds and use it. This will create a skill gap between actually playing the class and doing, just doing it because that's what's required at this point.
It'll be more of a choice,
Right.
More of a meaningful choice with consequences if you do it wrong, for sure.
So while we're talking about things that we don't like, as a segue, what are the things you guys aren't happy about the Druid Trees? Let's
I already say it, I think.
You got 4 hours?
Where to start here? Yeah. I just typed out my thoughts on the forums here. But like I said before, it's, it was like one of the initial trees. So it loses a lot of like the kind of, it doesn't have the simplicity and like the fluidity of most other trees. I think of the warrior tree, for example, where there's not even any 2-point talents. Everything is like a 1-point talent. And like every path down to the bottom makes a lot of sense. And there's like this kind of themes. But it's also complicated for Druid because we have 4 specs. So it's like, they're all different roles as well. So I get there's like probably the most complexity possible with the Druid tree. But for me, the biggest bummer, besides just the fact that it's kind of hard to interact with and like clunky to interact with, is I'm losing Innervate. I'm losing Stampeding Roar a lot of the time. I'm losing Renewal. Something I really dislike is that we have to spec into our Dispel as well. So I'm losing like a lot of the kind of baseline utility that I had in Shadowlands, and it's literally a net prune to utility, at least for Balanced Druid, with a lot of the builds you're having. So like you're still having the most important abilities, like your 2 kind of CC abilities you spec into, Roar or Bash or Root or Vortex, but you're losing a lot of like the little kind of flavor things like Hibernate, Remove Corruption, like Stampeding Roar a lot of the time, Innervate. So it's like it feels really weird. It's It's a net
Even
utility prune, and that's depressing.
even something like Iron Fur being like a talent that you have to like pick, right?
Yeah.
Like something as kind of dull as that. I mean, I don't press
Yeah.
iron like I don't like to press iron. It's not something you'd really think about doing ever. Like it's kind of this
Yeah.
extra little ability, but it's a needed talent to access stuff below it. But I honestly think it's those two talents we talked about earlier, Killer Instinct and Nurturing Instinct. I think the
Yeah.
placement of those is the biggest stranglehold on the Druid talent tree because it requires you to invest so many points just to get stuff that you need. Like
Yeah.
Cyclone and
Mhm.
Skull Bash, you need those. Like you cannot play without those two things. And if you're a feral druid, you're investing 6 points to get two things that you absolutely need. And I think
Yeah.
that probably feels really bad. Yeah, I think balance and rest, we don't really care about Skull Bash. I mean, I didn't make any
Actually,
build.
Skull Bash is going to be nuts. It's the thing I'm most excited for on the Druid tree. Something people are really underestimating right now is your ability to spec into Astral Influence as non-boomies as well. So that's a 5-yard extra range on all your spells. So Skull Bash is going to be an 18-yard kick for everybody who specs into it and who also gets Astral Influence.
You
So that
have
is
beam, right? You
completely
have beam.
nuts. So you still have Beam, you have Bash. So imagine this. Imagine you're playing into Resto Shaman, DH Moonkin. You've got the 12-second range interrupt with Shear. You've got the DH interrupt that's also range. You've got range Skull Bash, and you've got Micro CC and grounding. You're gonna hate your life so much. So it's like, I don't know. That seems like one of the few situations where like precognition that kind of, if you juke a spell, you get the immunity talent is going to make sense because that is going to be a nightmare to interact with. Like, can you imagine a boomy boxing out your healer? They're trying to clone your healer. They've got Roar, Root Beam, and now they can also interrupt your healer if they try to cast with Skull Bash. And you also have Typhoon to like use as like a pseudo interrupt to like stop
Yeah,
cast
what
as
the
well.
fuck?
So Skull Bash for boomy, it's gonna be. I can't wait to just get Rage Whispered. It's gonna be great. So it's gonna happen like constantly. It's very abusive in my opinion. So good for
Knock,
us.
kick, root beam.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much. So it's gonna be a
Roar.
nightmare. Skull Bash is gonna be
Roar.
insane. And Skull Bash,
My
like,
aim.
yeah, Skull Bash isn't on global, but shifting into cat form is on global. So there's gonna be, it'll be a slightly easier kick to predict, just because you'll see people shift into cat form first.
Mhm.
But there's ways to make it less predictable if you're good with like managing your globals. So,
Well, I'm assuming if
yeah.
you'd use it, you'd probably use it a lot in bear to like just that.
That's true. Into RMP, you could kick in bear. Like it's
Yeah,
pretty insane. So
That's awesome.
I
yeah.
think use it to like kite too. Yeah, you just randomly Skull Bash just as a cap creator or
That's
something
true
weird.
too. Yeah.
All right.
I will say I've been comparing, like I've been playing Warrior and Druid on the beta, and the Warrior tree has so many more connective pieces to it. Like I don't feel like I have to take something to get something else 80% of the time on the Warrior tree, and I go back to the Druid tree and I have to have Killer Instinct if I want Skull Bash.
Reach.
I
Yeah.
have to have Nurturing Instinct to be able to get Cyclone.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible for me to get Typhoon in staying on the other side of the tree. Like I don't like the way it's set up still, and I cross my fingers every morning when I wake up. But it is what it is, I guess. But we have to make the best out of it.
It's true. A lot of the other trees will have like multiple pathways to get to
Yeah.
almost every talent, but for Druid, it's very specific. So
Like it feels like they could Iron Fur and like Rip would connect to Skull Bash or something. Like I'm looking, I think Warrior Tree, and it's like 6 things connecting to one talent. Like I can get there in 12 different ways. You can't do that with the Druid Tree at all.
Do you think that that's on purpose to like to limit, just to help people who don't know what they're doing, so that they kind of end up forcing themselves into things that they should probably grab? Or do you think that was to
I thought
limit
that's
so
what
that
thought that's what the pretend tree that they are giving everybody as like a base set was for, not
yeah.
I think what it is they try to replicate the affinity system. They try to make it like hard lock choices, right? Like affinity, at least for Resto, kind of defined how you played. And maybe it's not that, balance. I think you just probably only play Guardian Affinity. Feral, I think you had some flexibility there. But I think they are just trying to take the old affinity system and plop it into a tree. And I think the consequence of that is that you have to make these really tough decisions. Whereas with the affinity system, it was literally just a button. You press a button, you get like 5 things, right?
True.
You press Feral Affinity, you get 5 abilities on your bars. Maim, Rip, Rake, and I think that's probably what happened with the Druid tree, is they try to replicate that, and people are not happy.
Like they took out Rake Stun too.
Yeah, that's weird too.
You're not even.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't do.
Like,
I mean,
I
do
don't-
Ferals? Do you even have like a stun out of stun? Do you have like a cheap shot anymore?
Well, it's in the feral tree. I think it's a talent that you're forced to
Oh.
take, but you can't get it in the general tree. So like I can't Rake Stun if I'm playing Boomy or Guardian or whatever. But it's a spot. I think that they made it forced into the feral tree. I haven't looked at it since they
I
moved
see.
them.
Yeah, it's called pouncing strikes. Okay, I was wondering about. I was like, that Rake seems useless. Like, I'm never gonna select Rake. I mean,
Yeah, I won't.
if it doesn't
And
stun,
the rest of the druids also cannot Rake anymore, by the way. But they have kick.
yeah, but you can't stun with Rake as a resto druid, which is
Only
very.
Feral
You
can.
stun? No.
that's what we're talking
Right now,
No,
yes.
Rake is a stun
like,
for
after
everybody,
that.
actually. They changed it.
Wait, what? Stun for everyone?
Yeah, Rake is. I can spec into it as a balanced druid. Rake is a stun again. They changed that, I think, on the latest build. So you still have Rake stun, and then you still have Maim stun if you want. Yeah. So they
I'm
changed that
online.
actually.
I'm online right now, and Rake does not say it stuns on the tooltip. Is it
Mine does. I'll
updated?
link it to you right now.
What the hell?
Maybe it's I don't know, Boomy or
Log
something
back
weird.
in just
It's
to look,
supposed
right?
to be useful for everyone. So this is me right now as Boomy. I'll just put it in the little Discord group.
I mean, if Boomy is gonna have stun, Boomy is gonna have roar, knock, root beam, kick. So much.
I think the only time you're gonna play Rake Stun as Boomy is still in 2s, because 99% of the time for a good Boomy comp in 3s, you're playing with something that already provides a stun.
I see.
It
Yeah.
could be insane. But yeah, Rake Stun is still a thing. They changed it. I know they did remove it at first, but they brought it back.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
So your
That's nice for
That's
Resto.
awesome.
component is still gonna be there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like Wowhead is behind in updating their Druid tree.
Yeah.
Things got hotfixed yesterday, so it's happening all the time with the Druid tree.
Yeah.
But even I saw some notes like for Paladins they removed the blessing of the Spell Warden or whatever. It was the magic bop, but they forgot to put that even onto the DF beta for a week. And I was like, wait, did they say this or did they not? And then I saw it in writing and I kept checking the talent calculator and it was still there. And then yesterday, without saying anything, they finally removed it. So it's all still pretty clunky, but yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Can you guys hear my cat roar?
No.
You can't? Okay. She's on my lap. I'm meowing like a fiend, but I guess my mic isn't that sensitive. Oh, here's the tail. Check it out. Oh, yeah. Maybe you can see it.
I thought I saw a little floofy in your camera there for a second.
Yeah.
All good. Going back to things that we are not so happy about, Tony, what's going on with the feral tree? Like, I know when we were talking in preparation for this, you're saying that there was a fixed you were going to have a fixed build, but there was a whole bunch of different nuances that you thought, depending on who you're going to be playing into, that was going to cause you the need to adjust. So I want to give you the floor quickly for that, and then also you can also talk about things that maybe you're less than happy about.
Everything about what I can talk about, it's I don't know. It's just we have to play it Cyclone or we don't play it Cyclone. If we're talking about, you just need to test it. We just need to play it. Have so much games, and you're gonna know when you can use clones and when you cannot.
Okay.
So it's needed to test. You're not gonna play all these cycles because sometimes you just need to do damage. Game about them, like some stones make this game and like saying, nope, you cannot play and make play. Just do them. So yeah, into some teams you needed just to win, just to damage.
Okay.
I know I've said this about the feral tree at least 6 times that Promorath has to be moved. Like that's keeping me from getting lunar inspiration. Like it's too like
Oh yeah.
gatekeeping. Like 900%
Yeah.
of the time, I'm not going to take that. Well, why? But it's the only way that you can get the other 2 talents. Like,
Yeah, I remember. I think that was a problem with a few other trees, is that you have to just pick like a throwaway ability, and I don't think you press Primal Wrath.
it wouldn't be put on my bars at all. Like,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it might be niche in like some weird matchup in threes, like against like a Demo Warlock or something, like where there's a lot of pets you can cleave, and maybe there's some interaction there. But I think in general gameplay, it's probably just more of a hindrance than anything else. But yeah, I don't know Ferals too well.
I think that's it. He was mentioning, Tony said when he came in that like having to take a PvE talent to be able to take Moonfire, that his build didn't even have Moonfire in it because he's skipping out on that whole top 3, what is it, the right-hand side talents, because it's locked behind 2 things at this point.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way I'm gonna play this way. If I'm gonna want to pick the Moonfire, but it's Typhoon, I mean, it's not possible. It's so much to lose. Maybe if I don't want to play this stance with Gerissar one, if I'm not gonna use Siphon and don't gonna have Dispel of Corruption. The Boom is gonna have Dispel of Corruption? I think yeah, right?
Boomies, well, I mean, like, I'll play it into locks because Amplify Curse is going to be an actual nightmare, and hopefully they nerf that. So there's going to be matchups. I mean, you'll have to play it into Shamans to get Hex too. So there's going to be a lot of matchups you have to play it, which
I
is
don't
just
know
going to be a huge
how
bummer
much-
because of how much you lose to get
I-
it. But yeah.
I don't really know how much healing on a Siphon do. It's useless or not. So if it's gonna be useless, and if you're not facing the Shamans, you're like Dispel probably useless. Or if sometimes you're using, to be honest, into rocks or Dispel the
Yeah, get the poisons off.
and
For sure.
I wonder. I think we're all gonna be playing with like weak auras or something that switch the talents for us. Like, I think that's gonna be a nightmare in the prep room. You know, like respecking. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to toy around with it on beta. But
by the way, you see, like every single one wanna make a weak aura, improve with this, and don't care a lot. It's the main thing that Blizzard needed to do, because like I heard, Blizzard doesn't give people on the BlizzCon or like on the some tourneys playing add-ons, right? And some stones on forum also crying, oh my god, I wanna like make a game so long, and I believe it's not a community, it's people who just log game to 1 month to play and log off, you know? It's like what we're talking about. I just like read a lot of forum things, and right now, if you see in the combat on the retail, you cannot check your talents sometimes. You know why? Because some little stone on the forum cry about this, and you right now you cannot check your talents, you fuck up or not, you know, or you cannot check talents of your teammates in the combat already. So,
I think the one part that is kind of annoying about solo shuffle is needing to respec every single arena sometimes. You know, like if you forget to respec, it's like, oh damn, like I messed up. And I think it's gonna, like, solo shuffle respecking is going to be a nightmare, I think, without some sort of add-on or without some sort of weak aura that you just press a button. Like, oh, I'm playing against RMP. Let me set up my RMP talents. Okay, let me press this button. Does it for me. But if you like forget to do that or something, if you're scrambling to redo your talent tree in the starting room, it's gonna be kind of taxing, I think. So I don't know. There's certainly gonna be some way to template that, and everyone's gonna be doing that for sure.
You can save talents though, right? Like you can save the talent trees in the game. I mean, right now it's not working well.
Oh, it's a loadout. I see.
In the loadouts, yeah. So it's not that bad.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay.
It's still kind of buggy right now. Obviously,
it's not buggy. It's a little stone on forum, bro. Cry about it, and right now because you know what? One thing I remember, someone was crying on forum. It's probably a lot of people like just support to him. He cry about, my god, I missed on my keyboard on button, and I always open talents when I'm playing. holy fuck, just unbind this shit and don't fucking cry on forum about it. And Blizzard just after it, in the listening forum, people was with completely zero IQ for that doesn't even look to anything in game. So yeah, right now when you want to check your talents, you didn't check it because it's not working.
Huh.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's for somebody who is either just copy and pasting what they find on a guide or something like that, or somebody that's not doing all the research. I'm assuming there's people that look at the spell book and think that they have to have every single spell on their action bars, not realizing that some things they may not even push because the damage is not even worthwhile, or you're going to be putting yourself into a bad position using that global for that other ability. Is that even a thing? Is that going to be a thing with druids where there's going to be stuff that isn't going to be worth the global? Because I guess it's up to tuning, right? Whether or not they make all the abilities worthwhile to push or not, right?
Yeah, I mean, like as a boomy, you're never gonna press swipe or thrash minus like AoE or rogue out of stealth or something. But you still have to spec into those things to get where you want to go a lot of the time. So there's definitely some junk in there for sure, but it's not too crazy. And I know for ferals, like historically your AoE has been terrible, so a lot of the AoE buttons you never press on arena. Yeah.
The entire left side of the Guardian tree is Maul based damage modifiers and Maul, and I don't press Maul. Like it doesn't do that much damage, and I'd rather press Iron Fur. Like I don't like that there's so many, like 1, 2, 3, like 7 things I think I jotted down in my complaints that there's 7 nodes that have to do with Maul, including the very first thing, like you just get it, and I don't even know that I would press Maul in a raid. Like I have other things that I can press.
I think maybe it's time to talk about things we're excited for. I'm excited for some Resto Druid stuff.
We never did that to you. We never got to the Resto stuff. I'm sorry, Big. I think we stalled out.
That's a fame.
All right.
By the way, the disc have silence right now, right? Disc priests have silence or not?
I thought they removed the silence. I thought that was going to be...
So, Resto Druids have kick, Shamans have kick always, Paladin gonna have kick, I think, right?
Yeah, priests are gonna be the one...
Monk, yeah, it's unfair, by the way.
Be a good point.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's so unfair. Like, a lot of things what Blizzard does is just, like, I don't know. Don't think they was have the... experience. They probably like someone have job. They said, I don't want to work. Like they join another one to make it the job, and this another one doesn't even know what you need to do, and he's just making. Probably it's work like this. I don't know.
I don't know
about when they're creating talents. I don't know. Because there's no way they're making mistakes again and again and again. Because every time something, again, mistake is talents or way.
I think healers having kicks is kind of tricky.
It's fine. It's fine. I believe it's fine. It's some old play, more play style, more like things to do. It's always good. But Priest doesn't have kick, so he have nothing to do.
I think just Priest hasn't, because they add to the damage profile of the team as well, right? So I think in any team setting, they're going to have other...
I mean, one thing I like, when one team starting to play other one, and it means you're going to have to play more aggro, you have to push, right? So if Resto Druid team going to outplay your team and going to push through, he going to close to you, and he always going to have to kick your healer, and he never ever going to cast.
So I think though, like kicking. I mean, I think we should change this topic in just a sec. I think kicking as a healer helps define, like healers having a kick, like Resto Shaman, helps define their role in arena, like very clearly. Like Shaman is the aggro healer. They're pushed in, they're purging, and I don't think every healer needs to have that sort of flexibility. I think if you keep things separated, like otherwise every healer is kind of homogenized in a way. And
you cannot play in the caster cliff on Resto Druid aggro. It means your playstyle different. You're staying behind, you're healing, your kick users. But if your team like randomly outplay someone and you have to push to make more cyclones or maybe stun someone and kick, it's such a good opportunity because your team already gives this way, to play. So kicks was fine for every single healer if it's kick melee, I believe.
I like it. I feel like Resto Druids often have an extremely passive do nothing, sit at the pillar and just heal playstyle, to be honest, specifically with their Guardian
And then
affinity.
he
I
gonna
think
play
it's
like
gonna be
this.
good, and it's gonna force some Resto Druids who have been carried by that playstyle who honestly
Yeah.
can't really do much if they're kind of face to face with people to like get exposed or figure it out. So I can't wait to see some of them like try to do these things. I'm thinking of a lot of there's so many Resto Druids who just play Ret Warrior right now who cannot play anything else, and they're so used to like just barely PvPing compared to most other specs in the game.
I'm gonna hold you accountable, Dipi.
Do it.
Like I want you to play against a turbo cleave with a Resto Druid that has kick or something. Like, good luck. Have fun,
Yeah.
man.
Well, I mean, luckily I'll have precognition and I'll juke them and just be bubbled the whole game. So
yeah,
yeah.
Love it. I love it. All right, Big, your time. Here's your 5 minutes. What about Resto are you excited about?
They brought back Genesis, like a insane version of Genesis, to the tree. For those of you who don't know what Genesis is, there's a Missa Pandaria ability that basically made your rejuves tick super quick, and so it's now being called Invigorate, and it causes your rejuves to tick 100% faster. And you can combine it with things like Soul of the Forest and Germination, and there's a bunch of other talents that basically extend the duration of rejuve or basically buff it. So you'll be able to burst heal a bit better as a Resto Druid. I think Resto Druids are going to be like, if you thought they're like good in twos now, I think they're going to be absolutely immortal in twos. Like,
oh
for
my
sure.
God. Dino is gonna have the best time of his life. He is gonna be so pumped.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talents that interact with rejuve that basically make this new Invigorate ability insanely strong. I think the biggest problem for Resto Druid and Shadowlands is they don't really have a cooldown. They don't have a big like life-saving Guardian Spirit, like instantly saves the game type of ability. I mean, there is Nature Swiftness, of course. So there's that, but it's I think
takes a couple globals to set up.
It takes it's kind of clunky, and if you don't have that set up, it's really bad. So I think the response is they're just giving Resto Druids even more healing.
Have you seen the 2-piece and 4-piece and how they modify NS?
Yeah, so I saw there's some cooldown reduction. There's Tranquility gives cooldown reduction too for Druids, for Resto Druids.
You can kind of double NS potentially with that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are kind of seem a bit over budgeted, I guess. I don't know how to put it into words exactly, but I think Druids for sure are gonna have some fatty rejuve ticks with the Invigorate talent. And plus, like the legendary, I think will be mandatory. The Verdant Infusion, extending Send Ward, and extending rejuves. Like, for instance, I've been saying, okay, you can extend rejuve, but you can extend it literally to like 40-second duration or something. Absurd. Yeah, so in that you can have like double Soul of Forest rejuves on someone, and if you don't have a purge on your team, good luck killing anything with a druid. So I think that's the other thing too I was thinking about before the cast is, I think the biggest problem that has plagued druids over the since their inception, since Resto Druid's inception, was just spam dispels, and it doesn't seem like there's anything really protecting spam dispelling for druids. So I think if you don't have a offensive dispel on your team, I think playing to Resto Druids is going to be insanely frustrating because of how long rejuve can last with Soul of the Forest, and then you can just invigorate it to get these really juicy fatty ticks.
I think specifically of twos where you're going to have a lot of, matches where people just don't have a purge period. I'm thinking like Resto Druid Warrior or something, or some of these other popular twos comps. Like, I feel like Resto Druids are going to be insanely abusive, specifically in
Yes.
twos, when there's not like the specific things that make life hard for them. So
Yeah, but yeah, I think there's some other cool things that came back for druids, like some Azurite traits from BFA, like Grove Tending, little tiny small things that maybe don't matter like that much, but are just kind of a nice little quality of life. Maybe some mini dispel protections.
does Grove
So
Tending give you another bit of mastery?
I think it contributes to mastery.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Is like, and usually what limits druids early on is you can't get enough master. You have to have a lot of haste,
Mm-hmm.
like a baseline amount of haste before you can start stacking mastery. But now with that Lycaris teachings,
Mm-hmm.
you could probably just start itemizing mastery right off the bat. I mean, that's what happened,
Yeah.
I believe, with Shadowlands. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but druids just became like insane, and well, I mean, they're really insane in like season 2, right, with Ret Warrior. But I
Mhm.
think once masteries came into the equation, I think that's where people became really frustrated. That's when druids started going mastery builds.
Definitely.
Because then they're really juicy, the hots.
So now that we're done, or I'm assuming we're done talking about the things you're happy about, is there anything you wish that they would not do, or that they or change something that they've done, something you're not so happy about?
For Resto or just generally
for Resto.
Resto Druid's always OP. Like an mouse.
I think Adaptive Swarm is kind of a dual-edged sword. Like, it's a catch-22, whatever the metaphor is. I don't, I think it's a nice button to press, adaptive, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying because, I mean, it would break CC, it would keep you in combat. It had all these other components of it that made it kind of annoying as a healer. And but at the same time, it was really nice because it was on the Shadow School, so you could press it while locked out. You could use it in bear form for frenzied healing. All these little tiny interactions, which are kind of fun to press with it, but at the same time, it had all these annoying parts of it too. So, its return is, for me, I am kind of happy about it, kind of not happy about it. It's so important that I don't think you can play without it. I'd rather it not be there, probably, just because I don't think it's necessarily good for the experience of playing Resto Druid overall, because it has all those annoying parts with it.
It also kind of doubles down on the whole, like, you have one target who is extremely hotted and cannot die, and then someone else who's really vulnerable. So I feel like it doubles down on some element that kind of already existed. So that's kind of unnecessary. I don't know. And then there are all those kind of, weird negative effects too, with it spinning off and breaking a blind or whatever.
Yeah, I think the combat thing is just keeping you in combat. Like all these, there's a bunch of random things that, like Kevin, for instance. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone really liked Kevin. Like Kevin was just kind of like this annoying feature that went away, which I think we're all probably happy about.
The only thing about Kevin that I liked was the AI. The fact that Kevin would like go and eat traps and do things that none of the other pets do.
Why did I think at 8 like people just miss, like druids are just press adaptive then stand on top of their Kevin, so it would be harder for the hunter to trap. And I don't know, it's kind of cool, but again, it like keeps you in combat. All these really annoying parts.
I know.
It was pretty buggy, but yeah, I think Kevin also had like a bigger like if you tried to trap someone, like even if Kevin was like a yard or two away, it had like a bigger
Hitbox
model thing. Yeah, hitbox than it actually appeared. So I think that owned a lot of hunters.
That's probably I was memeing a little bit, but
it's true though.
It is. How about to you, Orph? As I catch you as you're taking a swig of something. What about in the Guardian tree? Are you less than excited about?
I mentioned it before. I don't like Maul as a build around. Like that's why I've skipped the left side of the Guardian tree, just because it's, empower your Maul, give you increased damage on your Maul. Like I'm pressing Iron Fur to stay alive. I'm not pressing Maul. So I don't particularly care for. I wish I could go on the left side of the tree to get reinvigoration, and Ursock's Fury maybe, but like the way that it sits now, I just I pray every day for an update or any change. Like it's the top half, the top part of the tree is it looks okay. I mean that's that way for most of the ones that I've looked at. Like the top part's fine,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get down to the toward the middle or the bottom of the tree, and I don't know, Berserk still being split up for Guardian Druids when they didn't really fix it for Feral Druids, but they at least threw some of what's in there now already into the original Berserk for Feral Druids. It's not that way for Guardian. Still, you have to take is it the one on the right hand side? I honestly don't remember which one it is. It's the one on the right hand side. Yeah.
Oh, the
The
persistence?
persistence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is built into Berserk currently. Now I've got to get down there to be able to get the cooldown reduction. So it's just the whole, from the initial Berserk Ravage down is it's kind of frustrating just in general. But I mean, I keep changing things. Like I've changed it to where I won't play with Moonfire, and I'm going down to get Ursock's Fury and Reinvigoration. I've not taken those, and I like playing with Moonfire. Like I love seeing Moonfire just blow somebody up. But I wish someone would say something about it, like it's staying this way or it's not going to stay this way, like they did when what was it, Ian, that said we know druids are
Mm-hmm.
haven't been talked to or whatever, and we're working on it. Like, just kidding, it's only 3 of them out of the 4. So, but if
Yeah.
somebody would say something or not, or just if somebody would say something so I could figure out the best way to go about it currently, I guess that would give me, it would make my brain feel better than it is right now, because you can go 3-4 different ways to try to get what you need. Um, I love that they're giving you the ability to take some of the talents that you can. You have choices, and it's frustrating more than not, I guess. But again, you kind of take what you get, I suppose. And I've complained enough about it on Twitter. I think I'm finally done griping. I told myself the other day that I wouldn't say anything else. So like I'm done complaining. I think I'm just going to work moving forward with what I
Yeah.
can do now instead of what I hope to be able to get in, a
Mhm.
month or whatever. But it's cool. There are things that are great. I still have brambles. I still kind of get sleeper. The PvP talents. I mean, I love being able to take grove protection or emerald slumber. Emerald slumber is my favorite PvP talent in the world. Just being able to get my cooldowns faster. So
Okay.
I still have Malorn swiftness. I'm still fast. I'll still be able to do what I need to do. It's just you roll with the punches, I suppose.
Yeah. I think it's so. I will say from what they've put out from the devs, I know they said that I think it was Holinka said that they're pretty much done and they're with the development side and they're going to be moving more into tuning and everything. But then we've now had this most recent update to Druids, which was, like I said, 3 out of 4 fairly significant tree adjustments. I think there's still some stuff that people were hoping for. I feel like with the other things that Ian was saying, I feel like Druid is still in a period of development, being the first one out the gate, but the last one to finish the dev race. So I think you guys still have some hope to hold on to.
That's why I hate holding on to hope.
I've I don't know. I can't say too much, but I have had some conversations with the other side a little bit, and so they're really extremely well aware of all the issues. But I think there is just such a press for, getting things out now with this this very soon release date.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're super well aware of the issues, and the people who can, fix things really want to. But I think they're almost being forced to kind of move on. And it sounds like things will, if they don't get updated before the expansion comes out, it will be like, in a 0.5 patch or like,
Hmm.
0.1 whatever. So it's on their radar. They know what to do. I think it's just like kind of the suits and the frickin' people who don't play the game at Blizzard who are pushing them to just have a whole different agenda. And so I think the best thing we can do is just kind of accept what we have at the moment. And it's all clunky, but I think it feels better to play than I was expecting, at least on the Druid tree. And just trusting that there are like really good people who are super well aware of everything. They just don't have all the power with decisions. So there's the whole developer side of things, and then there's obviously,
there's the business side.
the people who went to Wharton and want to just milk gamers.
And there's a certain amount of project development. I mean, they know how long it takes to do things. They've been doing this so long now.
That's true as well.
Like if they're being held that they have to have the game out by a certain date, then
I think the main mistake is the listening forum people. It's the main thing. Why games going super
really
late.
Do, but I think
they do, bro.
It's more than just the PvPers who make all the decisions. It's like I'm imagining a round table of like people from very different backgrounds who kind of all have to sign off on something for anything to. This is just me being hypothetical, but I think it's harder to get something you want implemented than we would imagine. I think these people really have to campaign to get the smallest thing done. Even if it's like, it seems like a super tiny thing for us, they have to really work for every little, speck of a change.
As much as I want to believe it's just one guy working on something, it's not by any means.
It is a committee decision. And we actually know that because we had Chris Kaliki on the show on Technically PvP a while ago, and he was talking about that, where it's not just one person making one decision. It is there's a group decision made. So it's literally implementation by committee. And let's be honest, like we are playing the mini game of PvP
By the way,
inside the World of Warcraft game.
I can say something. Some people was really rooting the game. Why they still doesn't make it like skins like in CS:GO, skins, tabards, like team names, everything, and make it price pool from it,
Oh,
it's like improving games so much. They did one time, by the way, with the pets. You remember this in the Legion or what? I don't remember. Yeah. And where is this money?
Yeah,
it's kind of a surprise.
That was the day of that was bad.
Anyway,
I feel like if we go down this road of like, what Blizzard could do, it's never going to end because everyone has probably 5 hours
some
of
people
frustrations.
Some people rooting the game, and these people needed just like delete from the from the make a decision things. Don't let him these rules and just like make him better and not never listen to the forum, because I swear to God, the listening forum, some like stones on forum cry about, oh my God, like on Warsong, by the way, no joke, people farm so much honor, and it's so fun, and they will stop this, by the way. Right now you can kill only one time in every 3 hours for make it 10k honor or something. In rough. It's so stupid. What the fuck? After leveling my character, I don't feel myself like a human, bro. And right now we needed farm honor again. I so tired to do this. I want to delete game after farm over and over again, And some people needed created the alt characters. This thing in game, it's like a lot of things.
There's other ways. There's other ways to get honor other than just farming Wintergrasp and chain running it. So
I mean, of course,
once every 3 hours, you have time to do.
It's anyway so long. It's anyway so long.
It does.
And gearing up and blah blah.
Yeah,
a lot of things what can improve it in the game.
I think, by the way, just like circling back, I'm slightly optimistic about there being some changes for the Druid tree. Like if you just click around, like if you just go to Wowhead, click on every other general tree for every other class, it's very like harmonious, very like there's symmetrical. If you click on Druid, it's just like all over the place, right? Like it's this weird shape. It's not shaped like it's not symmetrical. Again, maybe that has to do with the fact that there's 4 specs. But if it was
a draft.
Yes, yeah. So if that's what I mean. If it was the first time, it makes sense that it was the very first talent tree that was released. And so I think, certainly just visually looking at the talent tree, it looks like anything. It doesn't look like any other class tree that exists in the game.
True.
And so I
Agreed.
think there must be, right?
So here's
Some more work.
It's in a
from
folder
my
on a desk
understanding,
somewhere.
like if they remove some of these 3-point nodes, the power creep is kind of insane because you almost get
Mhm.
access to everything if that happens. So basically, like if they make these changes that seem small to us, they're gonna have to redo the entire thing, and that actually takes, I think, a lot of thought and time and energy and stuff. So I think it's gonna be harder for them to. Or someone was explaining to me just like how many adjustments would have to be made based off of like small tweaks. Like if they
Yeah.
do those small tweaks. So
Let-
they
let-
really have to redo the whole thing, to be honest, and that's
Mhm.
gonna. I don't know if they have time to do that, which is the problem.
Well,
So
what if-
it's by far like the rough draft and their priority
Mhm.
to like get this done. But even if it's their priority, I don't think it's on the table.
Well,
until
what if-
the
by the way,
Hold on.
the announcement, the Dragonflight, it's in 2 months, right?
Yep.
So it
Yeah.
means season end in 1 month. It's instantly
Yes.
means in 1
Possibly.
month.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
all the
I'm
dates
gonna
for
be so
that
excited to
original
play.
leak. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have been right so far.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to play the RAF as well because it's gonna be so much fun. But at the same moment, solo queue, like things just solo queue, you know, streaming
Mhm.
24/7 and play it, and you always have some content to play, you know.
Always stream content. And my
Yeah.
biggest hope by far, Tony, is that solo queue is going to attract enough casuals and like new faces in PvP that they actually do PvP balancing and have an incentive to focus more on PvP things because there will be a bigger population, hopefully and potentially from solo
maybe.
queue. So that is the grand hope that I have.
Hmm.
But we'll
By
see.
the way, it's all games already. I mean, I love this improve, by the way, because every single game right now have the short things, you know, lock in the game, have the like solo rating, don't have to like found people in the FG, stay 2 hours, 3 hours, and see how like some. You know, one thing with me as well, by the way, I was staying in LFG to make a cap on my alt character. I know how to play, know what to do. I see the game. I like have a lot of experience in the game. Tonight is experience by far, and some little person in this life lock in the game 1 time a week, and after 1 lose, he's just leaving from your party. You know, it's a kind of annoying thing. And solo queue gonna fix everything. I think people just gonna
Yeah.
spam it, and it's gonna be enjoyable.
Solo
One thing is
shuffle is gonna be a good thing.
one thing, by the way, what they needed to do is have chance to stay in LFG to found teammates, and at the same moment just have to queue. You know, queue the solo shuffle, and for rating, and the same way you have to stay on the looking for group. You know, or
That would
like
be nice. And I think people are
or
gonna,
maybe
yeah.
LFG group. By the way, you heard about this? Maybe people gonna stay in LFG group. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
For
being
found
able to stay in
teammates.
LFG while queuing. I think people also find so many new teammates from solo queue. Like
Mhm.
just
Maybe.
being in the tournament, even like I got to play with so
No
many
way.
people I never played with, and
Yeah.
there are
I
people
mean-
you're gonna want to keep playing with. Like if you do well with them, even 1 round and solo shuffle, like now
I mean,
I wanna
it's
play
it's
Dancing with the
not
Stars with Calvish. It's cool.
it's not gonna work like this, by the way. How you're gonna find teammates? Maybe for twos, not on threes, because like every single comp is locked. You know, people making the meta comps and people playing the
Yeah.
meta comps. It's in every games it's happened. It's fine. Other thing is
Mhm.
how balanced it is. And you know what about soul shuffle? Is how they can balance it. This they can just give people play mirror. It means not like one class stack 4 rocks into 4 rocks. You know, just like put maybe 2 rocks and put the 2 decays and split them. So it means decay rock into decay rock, and then split again, but split between the players, not classes. You know. So it means other decay in other team with other rock. It
Mhm.
give like shows them best. It's gonna be more balanced also, by the way. Because
Mhm.
like some classes gonna be OP, I make for sure gonna be
Oh,
OP,
yeah.
and some classes gonna be in solo shuffle top 1 and ladder. And when you're gonna face this class, he's just gonna pump you every time because you're gonna have no chance to just do anything. It's
I
like always
do
gonna
think
happen.
solo shuffle is going to encourage more balancing.
Yeah, it's
and
more,
something
but
else I noticed
you're gonna
with the tournament format is that the instant rate of dampening, like it's starting right away, it actually enabled a lot more comps to be successful. Like you didn't
Yep.
need the same like necessary ingredients that you had on ladder when the game is slower.
Mhm.
But did you see what happened
Solo
in
shuffle.
solo shuffle?
It was all
in the
melee,
real
of
meta.
course. Yeah.
In the real meta, they just put me with one warrior in double outlaw rock. I didn't win a single fucking round. A single
Yeah.
round I didn't win it, bro. Just warrior sit on me, and I'm dying. 40 mortal strike, damping starting after 1 minute. In 2 minutes, it's already 45 damping, and warrior is 40 mortal strike on you. Surprise, motherfucker! Just like doesn't do anything.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I think the one change, if we really want to say changes, if we want to see people being able to sit in LFG while doing solo shuffle, I'd love to be able to sit in a RBG raid group and still be able to do some
Don't get me started.
some questing or do some real world content.
Yeah.
I'd love to do something while sitting in queue.
That seems like an artifact of like the past, like not being able
Oh.
to quest well in raid groups.
Yeah.
I don't know why they haven't.
10 years
removed
ago
that.
to fix that, right?
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
All right, so I think the one other thing that we haven't really talked about, and this is brand new that it just dropped last night, we kind of hit it a bit, the tier sets. Just
by the way,
quick round table.
ferals.
Yeah.
They give ferals, by the way, the up to soul. You know, when you're gonna finish your combo points, it's gonna give you 5% more damage for rip and 5% more damage for bites. It's kind of so big. If you're gonna look how much bites doing damage right now, I don't know how it's gonna do in the real PvP game when everyone gonna have like a lot of res, like versatility. I mean, so I don't know how much gonna do them, but I believe this buff is kind of nice. Rip also, it's so nice.
Yeah,
and
rip and bite getting 5%.
5% more for crit. Kind of nice.
So I was thinking about that. If you do a finishing move with 5 combo points, that's going to give you 5% crit for 5 seconds. That's only like you might get 2 globals off, and then that goes away. Is that even worthwhile, or should that last longer?
I think it affects dot ticks. So if you play like Feral Frenzy or something, like 5% crit's kind of low though. I don't think it's like that game breaking.
Yeah. I'd say it's kind of nice, but what's up, Dipi?
Let's see. So I think there's still some version of Eye of Fearful Symmetry in the Feral Tree, right, Tony? So you could potentially maybe spam a few bites at once. Yeah, it's called Tiger's Tenacity now. Tiger's Fury causes your next 3 finishing moves to restore 1 combo point. So I guess that's a nerfed version. But I think there's some builds where you could spam finishers a little bit more.
I don't know.
Also, Relentless Predator, energy cost of Ferocious Bite reduced by 20%.
It's everything needed to test.
Bite builds. Yeah.
You cannot put talents like this right now and say, "Oh my god, it's so OP, it's so nice." Yeah, I make for sure like I'm gonna test everything and then I'm gonna realize what's best. I'm gonna play it because for now, if you're gonna see the moment of clarity, I think I cannot lose it because like damage looks so nice. But if I'm gonna lose this talent, I'm gonna put more other things, you know. So it's gonna looks more nice. Maybe I'm gonna lose some like I don't know. This talent for I know not for Rake, but let's say I'm gonna lose the Trees of Energy, you know, if energy is not gonna be a problem.
I think
you didn't know how it's gonna look in PvP. Because on Mannequin, when you're gonna just damaging Mannequin, you cannot say it like, oh my god, it's so nice and you don't lose energy. Because in the PvP you always reshift, it means you need less energy and a lot of things.
It also doesn't look like that stacks either, so it might just be
it stacks.
It does. I wonder if it
of
stacks
course,
if you like rock bites from Convoke or something.
I don't know about Convoke, but
with that extra crit, you also get the extra crit just from being in cap form with Lycara's teachings, and then potentially leader of the pack as well, right? If that's still in the game. So Feral might have a very high
wait, yeah, it's so OP.
6% crit from Lycara's, and then you've got
another crit,
5% crit from leader of the pack, and then you've got the 4-piece as well. You're going to be critting a lot. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's nice.
That'd be nice.
I think the biggest winner from the tier sets, by the way, is I think Balanced Druid. Just the 4 set looks pretty nutty. I don't know if I don't. I mean, Dipi, I'm assuming that 4-set looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, it looks really insane. Star Surge hits like a truck right now, and it's you enter eclipses very often with the Incarn kind of proccing from Pulsar. So you're gonna get that a lot, and it's gonna be just an extra big spike. And also the 2-piece is gonna be, like I said, there's now multiple modifiers for Wrath and Starfire that are huge. So this is a 50% modifier stacking 3 times, so 150%. Then there's another 50% modifier from your talents. So that's quite a few modifiers. So these 2 pieces for Balance Druid are gonna like result in, spiky or sustained with the 2-piece, and then with the 4-piece, very, very spiky kind of on-demand burst for your goes. So you're just gonna be, much more clunky with your damage because of that tier set, which is exactly what you want for like a high-end PvP damage profile. So
does Eclipse work the same way it does on live with the two Wrath, 2 Starfire? Like, you need to...
No. So there's only one version of Eclipse now, and you can enter through either the Wraths or the Starfires for every single one. You're not pigeonholed into only
rotating.
Wrathing to get. Yeah, you don't
Yeah, you don't have
rotate
to alternate.
anymore. So now it's very easy to get it up because obviously you have your kind of Owlkin procs if you're being hit. So you have your instant Starfires, and then also there's a talent called Nature's Grace, where after an eclipse ends, you gain 15% haste. So that plus Star-Lord, you're going to be having an insane amount of haste even with low gear, and it's going to be very, very seamless and easy to get into an eclipse. And you're going to be constantly going kind of in and out of them, like I said with the pulsars. So you're going to get a lot of benefit from these talents that give you a bonus effect upon entering eclipse. And sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but right now you have, when you enter an eclipse, you get solstice. So you have a 200% increase in shooting stars proc rate for the first 6 seconds of eclipse. You also, every other eclipse, summon a Fury of a Loon, which is like, it's at reduced effectiveness, but it's the 2-piece that you have right now you're going to maintain as well. So you're just getting a lot of power upon entering eclipses, and then now there's the 4-piece bonus as well. So there's just you're going to be spiky, which will be nice.
Spiky.
Yeah.
And then
We're not talking just thorns here, right?
and we said that I don't know if we talked about the Guardian.
What the fuck? Wait, someone was like flapping like this, right? Like or like this. Kind of feels like you're dying, bro.
Sorry, go ahead, Big.
I don't know if we talked about the Guardian 4-set at all, but
No, we haven't got there yet.
Does that matter at all? I don't know much about Guardian.
I mean, what's the 2 pieces? A 5% increase. So Gore's getting a 20% chance because you have to take the talent in the talent tree anyway to reset your Mangle. Mangle's getting more damage and it heals you for 100% of the damage that you do. Like right now, without a tier set, I'm getting 4.5k is Mangle. Mangle hits for like 4.5k. So plus whatever the damage or 10%, plus it's an additional 15% damage to Mangle by the time you get the 4 set. It's not a huge amount by any means, but I'll take a heal when I can get it.
Nice.
I think that should make some pretty nice, just random healing, passive healing as you're just doing your rotation. Assuming,
and if you keep Moonfire like down the tree, like it heals you as well. Like it's not a ton, but like I'm getting a lot of healing from talents, and then now the tier set. It's a lot of just healing that I don't have to worry about pressing buttons to heal. It's part of what I'm already doing, which I really enjoy. Like I like getting healed when I don't have to heal myself on purpose.
Yeah. I guess the upside to that is also like, that stuff that can't be dispelled, unlike, the healing and that. Just speaking of the healing, what do you think of these? The 2-piece and the 4-piece for you, they're Big.
I mean, it's quite insane actually. I just pressed. Wait, it's insane with that Invigorate talent I just mentioned earlier. So Invigorate makes your hots tick really fast, right? And Light Plume already does tick pretty fast. Okay, Light Plume ticks once per second, I believe, or quicker than that. Anyway, you're gonna have a lot of cooldown reduction on Nature Swiftness, which already is pretty strong. And so I think you'll be able to get way more on-demand burst heals, which is really good. Again, that's kind of where Druids struggled with, is like kind of bursty healing. So yeah, I think it's pretty nuts. The interaction between those two things, because you don't have it. So the force set reduces the part that matters is Life Plume critical heals reduce the cooldown of Nature's Swiftness by 2 seconds. So, if you crit 3 or if you crit 5 Life Plume ticks, that's like 10% off or 10 seconds off NS, like really like instantly, which is quite strong.
That is
So yeah, I think Druids are gonna, again, and there's that Tranquility cooldown reduction talent. There's a lot of cooldown reduction now for Resto, which is kind of weird. So yeah, I think it's pretty good talent, or pretty good force set for sure.
Okay. I just kind of looking at that with the additional crit heals and just how additional crit would be more CDR. Do you think that's going to, because when they put out the post, they said how these were supposed to be like nice, but not have to change your gameplay style or really mess up the rotations. It's just kind of on top of to help you. But would this make you want to stack crit and change what your stat priority would be for gearing, or do you think you would still maybe stick with haste mastery and just if you have some passive crit on stuff, then whatever?
What's really strange, by the way, is for some classes right now, currently in Shadowlands, like crit is the best stat in PvE.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably some truth to that in PvP too. When they changed the crit multiplier in Shadowlands. So in BFA it was 1.5 damage. I believe in Shadowlands it's 1.75, or it might be even 2 times damage. I don't remember what the crit modifier is. But I think crit in general is kind of undervalued in PvP. And for instance, Asa Rogues, their number one stat by far in PvE is crit, I believe. But you don't really see Asa Rogues stacking crit too much. But when they pick up a talent when they pick up a legendary like Mark of the Master Assassin or the Mark of the Master Assassin talent, and they get a lot of crit, like you feel it, like you remember those like rogue one-shot combos, right? So I feel like crit in general is just kind of an undervalued stat to begin with, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's going forward more experimentation with the stat, because I think it's undervalued across the board, not just for Resto Druid.
Nice.
Something to add there really quick with our Druids and crit. So like I said earlier, I felt like there was going to be really strong synergy between the DPS Druid specs and also Resto Druid, just with like Verdant Heart. But also with Boomy and Feral, we both give crit to everybody. So Feral has Leader of the Pack, which is 5% crit. So that's going to synergize really well with, the Druid 2-piece and 4-piece, or the Druid.
It's more than 5, I think.
I forget. 5. You would know better than me. But then Moonkin gives 12% crit with Moonkin Aura. So I think that is another point of extremely good synergy with Resto Druid and the DPS specs I just wanted to mention.
That is
good.
Like
maybe Cyclone being a talent that isn't, maybe if you play double Druid, one of the Druids doesn't have to play Cyclone, like there's probably some kind of synergy there by necessity, I could see, I think, right, double or Kitty Cleave with the Resto Druid was pretty good throughout some parts of Shadowlands, and so it's not unheard of to have double Druid on the same team.
Can you imagine triple Druid? You'd have Leader of the Pack plus Moonkin Aura, so you'd get a bonus 17% crit on your spells. Tony and I could hang out. It'd be insane. I feel like that actually could be really good. You'd have an MS. You'd have a bunch of stuns. That could be, I don't know. I feel like it'd be more viable than it's ever been before, just on paper, but
bunch of off heals.
Yeah, insane off heals. We could all play Resto Affinity kind of talents.
Well, also that one passive talent where when Barkskin and Frenzied Regen are active, you're taking 20% increase heal. Yeah, maybe double Druid, maybe triple Druid is the way to go.
Triple
Let's
Druid.
go.
Wins this con.
Oh,
So would that
he's gonna
be
nice.
Resto Kitty and Boomy, or would that be Resto Guardian and Boomy?
Preferably not Guardian. I don't think that'd be fun for anybody. But yeah.
Sorry, Orph,
I
tried to get you
I
in there.
That's all right. I can play the others.
But yeah, I think, Feral stuns a ton, and
Mhm.
you have really insane burst damage, and it would
Yeah.
also be really OP into cleaves because you could have triple thorns. Everyone has damage that goes through armor with bleeds and spell damage. Like, I don't know,
Yep.
that could be like the cleave counter. Could be insane into RMP too. You just slay the rogue with bleeds and no one can die. Everyone's pre-hotted, and I don't know. No one can be sheeped. Like, holy
Oh yeah.
wow.
I mean, having two in-cap roars against like RMP sounds like insane.
Three.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, 3 in-cap roars.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Just to wrap this up, Dipi, balanced druid tier set. Good, bad, ugly.
Yes.
What do you
It's
happy?
insane. I think it's one of the best tier sets that exists for anybody. Like I said, it's just gonna, really add to your kind of burst damage, both with like the burst kind of spike of your sustained, and then also specifically the 4-piece is the big one. It'll probably get nerfed in PvP, like almost immediately, in my opinion. It's so powerful. So it's insanely good, and it buffs us, with where we want to be buffed the most to be viable at the highest level. So yeah.
All right. I love it. I honestly, all the tier sets look interesting. I do like them. I personally wish that we had PvP specific tier sets, but that's a whole other
Yeah.
story.
That's the dream.
That is the dream. And speaking of other dreams that we'd like to have, I guess we've been at this for 2 hours. A quick roundtable before we close out and ask everybody to give your things, where to find you, and that. I'm gonna start with you. I'm gonna go backwards. Dipi, any last parting shots? Anything that we didn't talk about that you have a burning desire to make sure that people know about?
Not especially. I feel like I had the opportunity to use a lot of words today, so thanks for that. Yeah, my biggest hope is just that Boomkin is,
OP,
more
like
desirable to play for like the general population. Because right now it's like people only want to play it. There's 2 Moonkins in NA that play at like the highest level. It's like me and Rudar, and nobody else plays it. And it's a very unique playstyle where your biggest purpose is just a spam clone. You don't really add a ton of damage minus the first few seconds of your incarn. So it's really not fun for most people to play minus the actual highest level possible. So I think the profile is going to be way smoother for to attract kind of more casual people, and it'll just be satisfying to actually press your buttons. So I'm super excited about that. And then I'm really hoping that solo queue gets more people into PvP in general. And then we got kind of, better balancing, better kind of tournament audiences, better stream content with solo queue. So there's a lot to be optimistic about as a PvPer in Dragonflight. And then also specifically as a Boomy player. And the 2-piece is also, or the Trinket 2-piece is also insane for Boomy's viability in tournaments. So there's a lot of really promising stuff, and I'd say to all my Moonkin comrades that there's real significant reason to be optimistic about Dragonflight.
Love it. Love the message.
Yeah.
Orph, anything that we haven't talked about that you really feel that we should cover before we sign up?
Not really. I mean, and I'm just been looking at the trees for the past 5-6 minutes and just thinking, like, I'm not losing a massive ton of anything. So I think the good thing moving forward is if you play Guardian Druid right now, like, continue playing Guardian Druid, because, like, especially if I think just PvP side of things, like, you don't get to be Venthyr. They're taking away the cheese that is Venthyr Sleeper, but, like, you still have the ability to run a flag in an RBG with the Sleeper Legendary. It's got a less of a cooldown. Like, you still have the ability to reduce your own cooldown. There's not a big change to anything. Again, I'm not losing anything that I absolutely have to have. Some of the general tree things are kind of frustrating, having to choose one or the other, but like keep doing what you're doing. If you like playing something, like, continue playing it. Just keep hoping that that'll make a change. If not, just keep your eye on the prize.
Love it. Lost track here. I think Big. Anything we haven't talked about that you want to make sure we say?
Yeah, I think I think the biggest quality of life improvement for me, and I think a lot of I think PvE druids too, would be giving Resto more damage. Because I think that's one of the main problems with Resto druids in Mythic dungeons is I just think they don't do that much damage compared to other healers. And I think right now every other healer can do a decent amount of damage, just kind of baseline, but Resto druids can't, and I think that's kind of a limiting factor to their like playstyle, and kind of is why druids might be a bit more passive in recent expansions. So I think if you gave Restos more damage on like Wrath, for instance, like something like that would I think feel very nice and would help for PvP and PvE. So more damage for Resto druid.
Love it. How about you, Tony? Any last parting shots?
About me, I think we talk good. I already said about everything what I want. Said
Alright.
about the Bash and Roar. I was like really laughed if it's gonna be different line this sit, I believe. So everything what I talk. I mean, we can talk more, but I think it's about time when it's go on and everything gonna be tested. For
Nice.
now, it's just hard to say something gonna be so big or not big, because everything
Yeah.
it's about the practice, I believe.
All right.
I'm excited to get into damage tuning and see how it really feels when things are how they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing right now is that this is all white paper until we actually find out what things are actually going to hit for and heal for. It's all just conjecture. All right, starting with the bear. Let's. Where can we find you, Orph? If somebody has enjoyed listening to your thoughts and your voice, where would they find you?
Well, I thank you for the opportunity. My Twitter handle is @Orph_gaming, and I used to do Twitch. I don't really anymore. Sorry, all the Twitch people that are watching, but it's youtube.com/OrphGaming. I'm fun. I enjoy myself, so hopefully other people enjoy me as well. Come hang out.
Just as long as you don't enjoy yourself too much on camera.
Right.
Thanks, bro.
How about you, Tony? Where can people find you if they're looking for you?
I think you already tagged me, right? In the Twitch screen. Just like type this name, you're gonna find me everywhere, I believe.
Love it. Dipi.
Yeah. So if you want to hear more from me, my Twitter is on the screen, DipiCat1. But my plan, I don't stream a ton right now. It's kind of I stream once in a blue moon if someone's like specifically requesting that I stream. But my plan is to stream a lot in Dragonflight, just with solo queue being an option to kind of have content whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad streaming right now because I'll play for like 1 or 2 hours at most during like prime time, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and that's it. Just because high rated queues are so limited with when they're accessible. Like there's just not queues until super late because everyone's a degen. But my plan is to stream actually a fair amount of Dragonflight. So you can find my Twitch, twitch.tv/DipiCat. It's DipiCat because I started as a feral. I've actually won an AWC circuit series as a feral, Tony. I don't know if you know that.
Wait, repeat. What did you say?
Yeah, I was a feral before I was a boomy. I got my first ad on feral. I've been rank 1 on feral. And
nice,
I have won an AWC circuit series as feral as well, Tony. So
thank you, bro.
That's awesome.
Yeah, inspired by TonyFeral. Wow. But yeah, that's why the cat's in the name.
The love.
And never changed that. But yeah, I'll be streaming, mostly boomy. But that's the plan. So you can find me there too.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Guys.
Big.
Yep. See
Big
you,
Moran.
guys.
Hold on. Big Moran. Where can people find you, man?
He's ready to leave.
Yeah, he's ready. You can find me on Twitter at BigMoranIRL. Yeah, that's where you can find. I don't really stream. I stream like once every like 3 years.
I like your tweets, bro.
Good
Thank
schedule.
Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe I'll stream some Wrath stuff. I don't know. But mostly Twitter.
All right, and I'm Gerissar. You can find me at technically_PvP on Twitter. Don't really stream or anything, but we do a podcast over on Bonus Roll Productions for Twitch. So if you want, you can check that every other Tuesday. All right, thank you very much, guys. You have a wonderful night. People who were in chat, thank you so much for sticking around and having a lively discussion there while we were talking. And in the meantime, this will end up on the YouTubes for Bonus Roll Production if you want to watch it again. Have a good night, everybody.